We are ready to start the first step in the process of preparing for an academic discussion, which is, of course, step one is to come thoroughly prepared, which doesn't mean much to say that. So I'm going to unpack that and tell you what that means for our academic discussion. First, you would need to know what our academic discussion is about, and our particular academic discussion is all about the text that we are going to read together as a class. So up till now, you've pretty much been reading independent reading choices, where you've been picking your own books and everybody's reading something different, and that's great. But it's also good to have an experience of a collective reading where we're all reading the same thing, and then afterward, we can discuss it. So let's talk about what it means to be prepared. Well, obviously, the first thing you need to do to prepare is to actually read that text. Okay? Our academic discussion is going to revolve around the theme of the text. Okay? So we need to figure out what the theme is first, and that's kind of a process that you're going to go through as you read the entire text. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what the theme is because I can't. For one thing, there are many different themes possible for each text, so I'm going to let you sort of determine what you think the theme is, and then that's going to guide our discussion after everybody's done reading it. We're not going to discuss this text at all until everybody's done reading it. Okay. There's several reasons for this. For one thing, it is a piece of art that the author created, and it was meant to be digested as an entire piece. I don't know about you, but I always got a little bit frustrated in school when we would read a little bit of a book and then stop, and then the teacher would tell me all of their ideas about that text, and it made the reading process very disjointed, and it broke it up in a way that I found kind of frustrating. So I want to avoid that for you. You are going to read the whole thing on your own and prepare your statements, and then come together, and then we're going to discuss and hear what everybody thought of it afterwards. This is a more authentic experience too. This is another reason I want to do it this way. So as you enjoy reading into adulthood, or you can even do this in high school, maybe you'll choose to join a book club, for example, and this is how book clubs operate. Everybody decides we're going to read this book together, and they go off their separate ways. They read it, and then they come together having finished it, and then they discuss it as a group. So I want you to practice having that type of experience. It's also, if you choose to go to college, that's how it's going to work there. A teacher will assign a book and say, have this read by next class, and we're going to discuss it. And you need to show up having read that entire book and having taken a few notes about what you think about it and bring that to the discussion. So we're going to start practicing that now. Okay. So here's a little process that I came up with for you to develop your idea of the theme and to track some evidence for that theme. The first thing I want to say before I get started in showing you my example is that theme is not the same thing as a topic. Theme, if you want to think of it in terms of a lesson, okay, what's the lesson that the author is teaching through this text? That would be the best way to think about it. If you think back to like The Tortoise and the Hare, which is a story that almost everybody knows, The Tortoise and the Hare. At the end of the story, your elementary school teacher might have come out and said, the moral of the story is, okay, being the fastest doesn't mean you're the best, or something like that, however they interpreted the theme. That is a theme, okay? A topic would be racing or something like that. No, racing isn't a great example. In fact, why don't I just move forward here and show you. So I chose to do my example over Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It's a book that I've been casually and slowly reading to my 1-year-old daughter this summer, so it's kind of been on my mind. And it's a story that a lot of people are familiar with. Not everybody, but a lot of people. Okay, so here's what these tables look like that you're going to fill out. The first part, it says big topics from the text with page numbers and or scene locations. So here's what it says here. As you read, you'll notice that certain topics keep popping up and seem to play a large role in the story. You're going to want to keep track of all of these big topics, and this table is where you're going to do that, along with page numbers if you're reading a book, or scene locations if we were reading a play. Okay, sorry about that scratching noise. That's my dog scratching at the door. Very annoying. Okay, it also says underneath that, please note that big topics are abstract ideas or concepts. And I have examples and non-examples here for you to look at. So a big topic might be love, or family, racism, talent, challenges. Okay, these are big topics. These are big ideas, okay? So these are not good examples of big topics for you to choose. Basketball. So if a story has basketball in it, that's not what we're looking for. Or cats, camping, or school, okay? These might be settings or activities that are happening, or characters if it's some sort of story with talking animals. But these are not topics. Big topics are big ideas that pop up over and over again. Big, meaningful concepts or ideas, okay? So you're going to want to keep track of those as you read, along with page numbers where they occur, okay? It also says, please list the location of all appearances of each of those big topics. So don't just note the first time that pops up, but each time you see that, you're going to want to note those page numbers. This is going to help you out big time later as you're searching for evidence for your theme suggestions. Okay, so I kind of did this for Harry Potter. So some of the big ideas, and there's probably many, many more, but don't overwhelm yourself. Just track what you think are the really big topics. Family, these are all the different page numbers where I thought family was really being talked about as a big topic. Okay, not every time the word family pops up or anybody's family member is mentioned, but these are places where I thought that family was really being explored by the author, the idea of family, okay, where it was a centerpiece for that part of the story. Teamwork was another one I found. Bullying, identity, the idea of knowing yourself and figuring out who you are. Good versus evil, obviously that's big in Harry Potter, okay? So that's the first thing you're going to do. This is something that you're keeping track of the whole time that you're reading the text, okay? So you could do this on paper if you want, and then go back into this document and put them in. If it's easier for you to just keep a little paper bookmark, you know, that where you're tracking all this, that's fine with me. Eventually you'll want to put it in here so that when we conference, I can see it from my computer too, and we can discuss it. Okay, here's the next part, author's statement. So here's where you're going to pick one of these big topics, either one that reoccurs a lot, or by the end of the text, it really seems to you that that is the most important topic that the author was trying to discuss. And you're going to write a sentence, one sentence, that communicates how you think the author feels about that topic based on how they wrote their story. And a warning, you don't want to be too general here, but you want to be as specific as possible. So here's an example. If I were to say, the author thinks that a person's family does not define them as a person, okay? That is more specific than the author thinks that family is important. So sort of some tips here. The second one is too vague, too general, okay? What does the word important really mean, okay? So you want to try to avoid words like good, bad, important, interesting when you're writing these statements, because those words tend to be pretty empty. They don't really mean a lot. Whereas if I specifically said the author thinks that a person's family does not define them as a person, that's very specific, okay? It's a very specific statement about family. So let's see. If I were to go up here and pick from one of these, ultimately I might pick teamwork. Okay, I might say teamwork, it either has the most citations here, or by the time I finished the book, I thought, really, J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, is making a big statement about teamwork and its importance. So what would I say? What would I say that J.K. Rowling, I could use her name specifically if I know the author, which of course I do, J.K. Rowling, or the author, thinks that, and then I would just make a statement. What do I think through Harry Potter she is trying to communicate about the idea, the concept of teamwork? Thinks that more can be accomplished through teamwork than through working alone. Okay, that works. So that is my statement, my author statement. Now, how do I translate this into a theme? Because a theme is kind of a life lesson that comes out of whatever text you're reading. It says transform into theme by simply removing the author thinks from the author statement, and then you can edit it or tweak it until it makes sense as a sentence without it. So the author thinks that a person's family does not define them as a person simply becomes a person's family does not define them as a person. So I just copied my author statement from above, and I'm just going to take this off. J.K. Rowling thinks that. I'm just going to take this off and make it into a statement on its own. So the life lesson that I think is being communicated here is that more can be accomplished through teamwork than through working alone. So this is my theme that I'm going to run with, okay, as I'm preparing for my academic discussion. Now, what I need to do next is to gather evidence and discuss how that evidence proves this statement here. And the next video is going to show you that. So stay tuned.